Hello, everyone. Welcome to the side event for the Stockholm Plus 50, hosted by the Global Schools Program and Mission 4.7, as well as the Masters in Development Practice Program, UNSTSN, as well as the Harbor School Hong Kong. We are very excited to have you here to get into a discussion on education and climate. And we are really looking forward to some interactive questions as we get later into the session. So just some Zoom etiquette to start out. Please keep your microphones on mute until we have the Q&A. We first have a wonderful video message from the UN Youth Advisor on climate change. He was supposed to be with us live and he was pulled into a very important Stockholm event, but he has some great words for us. Then we will have our panel, which consists of our Mission 4.7 chair and also our Global Schools program manager, our school leader from the Harbor School in Hong Kong, as well as the director of the MDP program. And we will also get into their bios and official introductions later. So thank you so much for joining this session. And I also suggest that in the chat, you put your country and your affiliation, so you can all use this space to make connections and to network throughout the conference and the day. So we will start out with showing the video. Just give me 1 second.
Dear organizers of the side event, respected panelists and audience, allow me first and foremost to thank you for this fantastic opportunity to be part of your side event, even if virtually. When you are watching this video intervention, I, together with thousands of activists from all around the world, am marching in the center of Stockholm for climate justice. One of the core aspects of climate justice for all youth around the world is a right to a comprehensive and universal climate education. In the year 2022, when we know how weak the 1.5 degrees target is, it is absolutely imperative that the climate education is part of educational curricula from the beginning in the primary school all the way to high school. Climate education is not only a matter of recognizing the importance of climate change and integrating it into the educational system. When the next generation of those who are now entering school will enter the world of work, politics, and other spheres, they will find it extremely altered by the unfolding consequences of the climate crisis. Even though I'm a person who is focused a lot on green jobs and green skills in my daily work, I first and foremost consider that expanding climate education and making it universal, regardless of where you're coming from, it's a global public good that allows the generation that is coming after us to be first and foremost a generation of well-empowered citizenry, because the knowledge about climate change always builds the desire and urge to act and to call those who are taking the decisions to act as well. Climate education, it is now undoubtedly a part of civic culture that should be fundamental. Civic education in schools should contain climate education, because apart from informing us about the unfortunate planetary processes that the human activities had triggered throughout the industrial era and now, it also informs us about the necessity to be an active citizen, about the necessity to hold your leaders accountable, about remembering that democracy is never just a few generations away from slipping from our hands. And climate justice is something that we cannot achieve without democratic and civic education. As I said, green jobs and green skills represent a significant part of my work. And climate education could and should be one of the key first steps for the youth of tomorrow and children of today in being able to navigate an extremely perilous and fractured world of work and economics of the 2020s and beyond. We are seeing the anxieties with which youth has come out of the COVID pandemic. We do not know what expects us tomorrow economically. The security of jobs that we already have is the lowest in half a century. Our educational systems failed us when it comes to preparing us for jobs with purpose that we desire, and the jobs that employers are even more increasingly offering. In light of the coming Transforming Education Summit and pre-summit in Paris, we need to do our utmost to link the climate education in K-12 cycle to what is happening to young people after they leave the high school and want to continue on the track of a career with green purpose and want to gain green skills. That would be the most relevant in this changing landscape of work. Unfortunately, in today's day and age, higher education is still a privilege and not a right. Thus, many youth, especially those in the least privileged backgrounds, will not have access to it to pursue this dream. It is thus a moral, climate, and economic imperative to ensure that this disparity is eliminated, and all the youth who want to pursue a higher education, especially with the purpose of launching into a career that is climate friendly, should get a fair deal. And even more importantly so, many of climate friendly jobs require some very specific technical skills, which our educational systems can deliver if they focus on an efficient, student-friendly, and employer-friendly provision of green skills through vocational and technical education systems that work well and deliver for youth of today and tomorrow. I urge all of the participants, especially those who are partaking in the works of the Transforming Education Summit, to dedicate their efforts to a meaningful work on its track 2, on the skills for lifelong learning, entrepreneurship, and employment. Because in this track, it is there that we discover the greatest potential and necessity for the youth who do not want to be limited to climate education that they would have pursued in school, to bring this further into their lives, make it something that they are doing daily in a decent way and earn a decent wage. We are now, as I earlier said, living in an age of the intersection of anxieties for youth. Climate education, even universally expanded, will not solve or alleviate all of them. However, it is a crucial stepping stone in changing civic conscience, providing a vital intervention to change the landscape of the future labor market in favor of youth, in favor of security for youth, and holding leaders more accountable by empowered citizenry. Youth of today and children of today and youth of tomorrow represent a key block when it comes to deciding the future of our planet. That is what leaders tell us every single time, at every single panel. However, the best way to walk the talk is to provide these generations with the tools that allow them to make sure that climate change is always at the top of the agenda, that the leaders always feel fire under their feet and always need to make sure that they are accountable to today's and future generations. Climate education is the key aspect of it. Without it, we are not going to have much of that. Universal climate education should be a right, not only in school cycle, but in vocational and technical institutions and higher educations alike. We need to make sure that regardless of where you live, regardless of your gender, socioeconomic background, you are having access to it. The history of our educational system showed that we've done it before when it comes expanding universal, nearly universal access, depending on the region, of course, to basic skills such as reading, writing, and maths. And even there we see now significant setbacks post-COVID. However, we know that this could be done. Thus, there is no other reason than having to muster political will to actually do it. Oftentimes, as we see in international climate spaces, collecting political will is a daunting task. But I think there is no nobler task than to ensure that every child is aware about the climate crisis and its dire consequences and is empowered to act. Thank you.
That was a wonderful video message from the UN Youth Advisor on Climate Change, Vladislav Kaim. It really sets the stage for our discussion today, taking this forward and linking education to the climate policy discussions that are currently happening at Stockholm Plus 50. Now, before we head into our panel, I would like to give everyone here a little bit of background on the Global Schools program, who is hosting one of the co-organizers of this event right now. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Amanda Abram, and I'm the program manager of the Global Schools program. So Global Schools really believes that teachers are at the heart of the program, with the potential to inspire hope and solidarity in future generations. And I really want to use this opportunity to connect our best practices and share them with you and connect them to some of the things that are being discussed at the Stockholm Plus 50 conference happening right now. So primarily, Global Schools works directly with schools and educators to provide professional.
Amanda, sorry, can I just quickly interrupt you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Can I get your Snapchat?
That's inappropriate for this discussion right now. So please, yeah, okay. So our team will deal with that. And so first, we work directly with schools and educators to provide professional training and tools, like I said. So a Global Schools teacher from Nigeria has been really able to develop the confidence and see themselves as the leaders of tomorrow. So we really believe that education for sustainable development ensures that students receive education on cognitive and behavioral dimensions surrounding social, environmental, and economic issues. Education for sustainable development is also seen to increase pro-environmental behaviors, increase academic skills, improve socio-emotional skills, such as collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving, and conflict resolution. And we really believe that these skills are necessary to improve sustainable development literacy. So how do we really fit this into Stockholm Plus 50? So in the draft Stockholm recommendations, we see that education is mentioned only about 3 times. And one of the times that it's mentioned is it says that governments at all levels, businesses and industry and international organizations should increase their investment in the education system and have schools and students really develop the skills for tomorrow. So education for sustainable development ensures that students do have the skills for tomorrow. Therefore, Global Schools is really contributing to this policy agenda and climate mitigation by ensuring that schools and educators have the resources to effectively deliver education for sustainable development. And to provide a few examples, one of our schools in Kenya saw an improvement in sustainability learning outcomes by using the resources and the training. One of the schools in Turkey noted an increase in student individual academic performance. Another school in Tanzania saw an increase in student attendance due to new school-wide activities that were promoting place-based learning and project-based learning. A school in Cameroon noted that elements of change were basically found in teacher motivation, and that education for sustainable development also increased teacher motivation. So to share about 4 just very quick best practices that you can kind of take back to your communities, that's what I'm going to head into right now and connect this to Stockholm Plus 50. So one of the best practices to share from the Global Schools model is our community-based approach. So we really have achieved substantial impact by training youth as well as teachers and having teachers extend this work into their local communities. In the last cohort, the teachers also worked with over 30,000 community members, admins, and parents, training them on sustainable development. In one example, a teacher from Pakistan actually reported that parents were quitting smoking after her health awareness lessons. And a teacher from Kenya upscaled their community garden program to 3 additional schools. So this movement extending inside and outside of the classroom has had over 1,500 schools commit to fully integrating sustainable development into their operations by signing the Global Schools Pledge. The second best practice that I would share to everyone here to take into their local context is the data-driven approach and the research-focused approach to teacher training. So survey data from Global Schools trained teachers reveals that the long-term impact extends to school-wide practices and students' perceptions of climate and sustainable development. And I already shared a few anecdotes from that as well. So 98% of teachers believe that the program has increased students' awareness of social and environmental issues, and 99% believe Global Schools has positively impacted students' learning. We also host focus groups and M&E groups, and teachers have reported that the main impact that they have seen are schools developing and students developing self-confidence and other skills. Another best practice is we really try to look towards the long-term changes, and this really connects to the other Stockholm recommendation that's in the draft report. It says that governments at all levels should scale up access to quality universal education, but also integrate sustainable development into school curricula. And we have seen that teachers and school leaders have done this. They have also integrated school sustainable development into staff development, into sustainability plans, into strategic goals, and into much more. A school from Kazakhstan reported that sustainability is now an official strategic goal of the school. And a school in the United States reported that every year the school will start out with a presentation on the SDGs. So lastly, we encourage our schools and our advocates and our teachers to link the education that they're doing with national policy and use their training as an impact catalyst. So alumni are able to leverage the training and brand to springboard into systems change projects. We have had many advocates work with ministries of education, work with governments to develop units for middle grade science, and also develop proposals for green schools within their country. So as we're going forward here, I want to set the stage with some of those best practices that I've seen in education, working with a community-based approach, looking at a data-driven approach and a research-focused approach, trying to think of long-term school changes, and finally, trying to link what you're doing in your school with the national context. So thank you so much. And now we will head into our panel discussion with our following three panelists. So the first panelist will be Ms. Radhika Yengar. She is the chair of Mission 4.7, and she's also the director of education at the Center for Sustainable Development. She has a PhD in the economics of education from Teachers College. She also received a distinction from Teachers College on her dissertation. She has presented this dissertation in various conferences, and her professional experience includes working in India, nonprofit organizations, as well as other academic and nonprofit organizations all over the world. She brings cutting-edge research into the operations and the programming in which she works. And she also serves on many boards of advisors around the world, working towards rural and educational literacy and women's empowerment. So I will turn it over to Radhika for her interventions.
Thank you, Amanda. It's such an honor to be here, and thank you for such a generous introduction from your side. Just wanted to be a voice amongst all the different voices here to share common concerns, because I think we are all here discussing environmental education. We are all here discussing broader general education issues. We have seen during COVID that a lot of education, there was a shift in the education, I would say, because it was all school driven, but over COVID, we saw that many communities have been involved, many teachers, many parents have been involved. So as Amanda just mentioned, one of her best practices through Global Schools program is getting the communities involved. And we saw that quite a bit with COVID. So I hope that this best practice is continued. Lot of communities need to be involved. Lot of communities need to be involved, not just with education, but raising awareness about how climate education and environmental education is key. I think that will be, if we can create a movement around that and make it, mass scale in every country, in every community, I think we'll be able to solve a lot of our problems, make the policy makers hear our speeches, make the policy makers also hear our community advocacy work through our actions. And one of our collaborative effort is Mission 4.7. I will share the link of Mission 4.7 in the chat, and also share what we are trying to do with Mission 4.7. I've shared it in the chat maybe, and then one screen share I want to focus on is here. So we are basically focusing on two things. So Mission 4.7, this is the framework that we follow: justice and sustainability. So justice, basically social justice, environmental justice issues. Our first panelist here spoke about environmental justice, and I want to bring that conversation back, focusing on justice and sustainability. And all of the 4.7 targets areas are here: global citizenship, education, peace and non-violence, appreciation of culture and diversity, planetary citizenship, sustainable development, human rights, sustainable lifestyle. So these are all the things that we are targeting with Mission 4.7. And of course, as I had mentioned earlier on, and as Amanda has also spoken earlier on, how schools and communities need to come together. We have to support family practices, and we also have to support teacher training and schools in general, along with the curriculum, along with this integrated curriculum that we want to, really focus on. So this is our framework at Mission 4.7, and it is a group of like-minded organizations that have come to promote what we call SDG 4.7 or transformative education. It includes Amanda's Global Schools program, SDSN, Lucia's here, SDG Academy is a part of it. We also have UNESCO. We also have the Ban Ki-moon Center. So different organizations have come together to form this particular collective. We at the Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia University forms the research part of this particular movement, and a lot of different organizations are partnering. We provide a lot of teacher trainings, on the ground related work through our various partners, especially global school advocates, and through the Center for Sustainable Development, we provide a lot of research support to see where is all this action going in terms of research, and can we provide evidence to support promotion of SDG 4.7 through various schools and entities. A big part of what we do is through UNESCO. We also advise governments. We do policy support work on 4.7, on SDG 4.7. And we consider ourselves as a part of UNESCO's, movement on supporting 4.7. So this is our main mission. We work on transformative education, which includes all these different components. We work with various teachers. We conduct a lot of sessions, teacher training sessions. We also have this monthly series, and all of you are really invited to be a part of this series called We Champion series, where we highlight one or two champions in this field, and who are really doing all the either the research component or the practice on the ground, or are leaders in the field who are promoting 4.7. So please join us in this movement. If you have any questions, I'm here. I can send my email also in the chat here, and please join us to create a big movement on SDG 4.7, which focuses on all the different components that are especially needed now after COVID, as we recover from COVID. And if we can all combine our hearts and passion and all the work that we are doing to further SDG 4.7, I think a lot of our climate education and a lot of our civic education part can further this movement and can further this particular cause. So I leave it at that, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussions and a lot of questions coming our way. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Radhika, for giving us an overview of your work. As she mentioned, the link to Mission 4.7 is in the chat, and we will get to ask her some more questions about the environmental justice framework that she shared. Now we will head over to Lucia Rodriguez as our next panelist. So she currently serves as the director of the Global Masters in Development Practice program. And for the past 20 years, she has been involved in a variety of work in the field of international education and administration. She has scaled up projects, fundraised, and developed innovative interactive programs for young people who are interested in learning about the world and global citizenship. She also manages and scales the financial sustainability of the global network of MDP programs, and also runs the Global Classrooms program within SDSN. So Lucia, we'll hand it over to you.
Greetings, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here this, for me, morning. I am Lucia Rodriguez. Thank you so much, Amanda, for that introduction. I am the director of the Masters in Development Practice Secretariat at the Sustainable Development Solutions Network in New York. So I am calling you from the USA. Today's session is about, from my understanding, education for sustainable development, and I'm here to share with you, and this will be short, so I will be one of the shortest speakers you'll have, which probably will be a good thing. I want to share with you a resource that may be of interest to many of you. But first, some quick background information. So the Masters in Development Practice, or MDP, is a degree program in more than 30 academic institutions in 26 countries. It is built on the pillars of natural, social, health, and management sciences, and it requires what I call a dirt in the dirt on boot type of field experience. Many of the students learn about community resilience through this three-month field experience that they must do as part of that they must do, as well as, they focus on issues of environmental sustainability. Now, many of these students, as well as the alumni, this program launched in 2008, and to date, we have about 6,000 alumni, which I am going to really, after this call, work even harder to make sure that you get to know them. They're out there, they want to do things, and this will be a perfect place for them to begin to do something, because they're doing a lot. So anyway, the students, as well as the alumni, they also joined something that we created called the Global Task Force on Environmental Action. So this is within the MDP community and world. They have this task force, and students, alumni, and current students join it. And this is an initiative where the students and alumni, who want to take action on climate and environmental issues. It seeks to ensure the inclusion and participation of youth voices in the international climate change negotiations. So students, through their field practicum at the mentioned Global Task Force, learn about the pressing issues of community resilience and environmental sustainability. But most importantly, and this is sort of what I want to leave with all of you, the MDP offers a free online course called Global Classrooms, Foundations of Sustainable Development, that is open to participants like yourself, where you can learn about many issues. So Global Classrooms also began in 2008 and has reached thousands of participants around the world. It's a 13-week web-based graduate level course. It's open to both universities, organizations, and individuals. So as an individual, you can really participate. And like I said, it is free, gratis. Okay, and it currently runs from September to December. So it starts September 6th and it goes to December 6th, every Tuesday. So enrolled students, they receive course materials, gather online each week, and it's a synchronous sort of hour of live discussion with global experts on topics such as primary health, development, planetary boundaries, global governance. And students can also participate asynchronously. So guest lectures and discussions are recorded, and all course materials and resources are available on a 24/7 online repository. So really, this is the gift I want to leave with you. It is a free course. It will begin September 6th. It talks about all of these issues. We have guest speakers from around the world who lead these discussions. We have an excellent facilitator, moderator of these discussions, and there is time for Q&A as well. Jeffrey Sachs usually opens the first course, and then he also, when he's available, he closes it. So September 6th, he will probably speak if he's available, and if he can't do it September 6th, then he'll do one of the other sessions, and then he'll do the closing as well. So September 6th, 8 to 9:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the synchronous hour, or the global hour. And I will leave in the chat, I will leave a link to that course. There is no degree that you get from this course if you participate, or a certificate. You can get a certificate of participation if you're interested, but that's it. And it's, like I said, again, free. Thank you so much, Amanda. That's the gift I want to leave with all of you. And I'll leave the link in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucia. I was just about to ask if you could put the link into the chat. That would be wonderful for everyone on the call today. And it's great that you shared the specific resource for everyone to take away from this discussion. So our last panelist I will introduce him now. Our last panelist is Hendrik Hernando, who is the coordinator of the Social Impact and Sustainability Program of the Harbor School, an international school in Hong Kong. So together with his team, they introduced the 17 United Nations SDGs into the school curriculum and launched supplementary activities all across grade levels. Before joining the Harbor School, Hong Kong, he was serving as a development consultant in the Philippines, looking at preserving heritage through sustainable tourism plans. And he has previously served with 3 different embassies, handling the tourism, political trade, investment, and defense portfolios. So we are very interested to talk to him and to hear from him some of the practical ways that he took education for sustainable development into his school context. So I will hand it over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Amanda, for your introduction. First, I'll just be sharing my screen. All right. I hope everyone can see my screen. So greetings, everyone. I'm Hendrik Hernando. I'm the Social Impact and Sustainability Program Coordinator of the Harbor School, Hong Kong. So I'm here to talk about our initiatives on sustainable development, education for sustainable development, and our findings in the recent sustainability survey that we have conducted. So first, I would just like to give a quick background about our school. So our school is an award-winning international school in Hong Kong, which aims to unlock the best through an American curriculum, which focuses a lot on experiential learning. So as you have seen, we actually have a boat as part of our marine science program, where we integrate our marine science resources and experts in the curriculum of all grade levels. So we have a 50-foot sailboat, which is serving as the outdoor classroom, and a state-of-the-art marine science center laboratory, in which the students can study and take care of marine animals. Aside from that, we have another center of excellence, which is the foundry, which also serves as a makerspace of the school. So THS really values being community-oriented, as shown in one of our projects back in 2017, the Meraki Giving. Our high school students designed, funded, and constructed a school in Eldoret, Kenya. And in 2019, our efforts got bigger and incorporated social responsibility in the program through the Project Hope. We're able to launch more than 10 projects during the pandemic, helping people in need both in Hong Kong and overseas. And in 2011, which is last year, Project Hope evolved and formulated initiatives addressing sustainability, which leads to our program, the Social Impact and Sustainability Program. So the SISP, or Social Impact and Sustainability Program, is THS framework to build social consciousness within the students by introducing the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in the curriculum through supplementary activities which are tailored for each grade level, from prep to high school. Aside from that, THS is also part of the Global Schools Network with 2 Global Schools Advocate. Our activities are actually supported by more than 70 organizations, both in Hong Kong and globally. So what's the design of the program? The program is actually divided across 3 terms. In the first term, we focus a lot on creating awareness and educating the students about the SDGs. Second term, we focus more on exposure and showing them a lot of trips on what is sustainability across Hong Kong. And in term 3 is about taking action and accountability with regards to sustainability. As a first-year program, we were able to introduce 96 activities across all grade levels, 83 of which are grade-specific supplementary activities such as sailing sessions, exposure trips, workshops, etc. 13 of which are actually school-wide activities, such as the SDG Roadshow we did with UNICEF Hong Kong, wherein we promoted the 17 SDGs at the beginning of the school year. It was also the first official event of the SISP program. We also have the Meatless Monday campaign, the Global Issues Conference, which is our school's yearly tradition, where our grade 5 students delivered a speech to school community about a certain global issue that they care about under the guidance of the 17 SDGs. We also had a SISP Earth Hour Metaverse, where we promoted the Earth Hour event last 22 to 25 March. Now I'm going to quickly discuss about the sustainability survey. So the survey comprises of 12 questions. 8 of them are general, which is the same all throughout from junior grade 1, which is our prep, until grade 8. And the remaining 4 questions are specific to each grade level based on their assigned initiative. The survey focuses on measuring the following: level of awareness, level of empathy, behavior, and attitude. It also focused on our younger kids, which is our primary students, and its purpose is to act as a baseline to measure the impact before and after launching the SISP for the school year 2021 to 2022. So we conducted our baseline survey last 27 August 2021 before the launch of all our activities, which is a very good indicator on what their current level of awareness on sustainability. And then we have conducted the year-end survey just last 29 April 2022, which is already towards the year of the school year. So here are some key takeaways from the results. Based on the survey, we found out there's an 84.8% increase of students on their awareness and knowledge on sustainability. 132.9% increase of students that knows and aware of the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. After all their activities, we found out that 9 out of 10 students think it is important for children to understand and learn about the UN SDGs in school. 38% of which shared with their parents and friends about the SDGs. So it doesn't stop just in school. So it already expanded to their families. So here's just a quick snapshot on the different questions that I was mentioning earlier. So in the baseline survey, 39.5% of the students were aware of sustainability, which increased to 72.94 at the year-end survey. It is also noted that the older students, especially in the middle school, are very much more aware compared to the younger students. On next one, with regards to specifically on the SDGs, it increased from 24% of the total students to 55.96%. 90.8%, as mentioned, think it is important for children to understand and learn about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And as mentioned earlier, 37.61% shared with their friends about the UN SDGs. There are some assumptions and limitations made in our survey, but we wanted to show how as educators can influence their behavior, our students' behavior, by introducing sustainability. And we hope that through the results of our survey, more K-12 teachers are inspired to perform similar sustainability programs and initiatives to the young generation. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope that you were able to provide some insights.
Thank you so much, Hendrik, for sharing specifically what you are doing in your school, including the sustainability survey and the incredible outcomes that you saw with all of the students across grade levels. I am sure everyone really appreciates it, and please feel free to contact Hendrik as well with his contact information on the last slide. So now I want to open it up for a question and answer period. So if all of our participants and audience members today, please think of your questions and put them into the chat box. We will be taking questions for any of our panelists or anything in general about the Global Schools Program, Mission 4.7, and the UN SDSN. But as everyone is thinking of their questions, I would like to ask something to the panelists first to start out. And I'll start out with Radhika, Lucia, and then Hendrik for a 1-minute answer. So Radhika, in the context, taking it back to the Stockholm +50 discussions, what do you think really needs to be urgently on the table when we're talking about education and policy? So I'll head it over to you, Radhika.
Thank you, Amanda. It's a very pertinent question given the time right now. And as I think you have already pointed this out, that education for sustainable development and environmental education has not been given the right, due credit or is on the table. We discuss all the SDGs, we discuss different sectors, but what about education being the lever to make all the other SDGs possible? So the potential of education as a policy measure, as an urgent action, has not really come up in either in COP26 or even now. And I think the education community needs to come together and really be vocal that education is the lever to make all other SDGs possible. And can we really urgently ask all the ministers of education and environment to come together and focus on using education, integrate education into the classrooms. It is no longer extracurricular, it is no longer a side topic that we need to deal with. It has to be integrated into civic education, history, science lessons, English language lessons, all other languages. I think it's time to really focus on education for sustainable development as a big solution to to meet with the climate crisis.
Thank you, Radhika, for the answer. I will turn it over to Lucia now. Oh, Lucia, you're on mute.
Yes, I absolutely agree with what Radhika has just said. Education has to be at the core of everything that is done around sustainable development, the SDGs. So for me, I take it because I deal with education at the higher ed level. So I think it shouldn't just be K through 12. We should also, and this is often done, continued into the higher ed level. So there are a lot of undergraduate, graduate degree programs that are still not, I mean, we deal with the SDGs on a daily basis and we think that everybody knows what they are and everybody's working towards them. But in reality, they don't. I'm sorry. I live here in the USA and, you know, you can ask anyone about the SDGs and most probably, and here, USA, you know, most probably people won't even no. Right now I am in Florida. I do, you know, reside normally in New York, but right now I am in Florida. So Florida is one of those states that absolutely does not know what SDGs are, and they are not interested in learning about the SDGs. They're focused more on local problems without seeing the global connection of their local problems. So for me being here, it also, it's important for me as an educator, really focus on that higher ed. One of the things that I will start doing through the Masters in Development Practice is trying to bring it to areas like this, where non-believers who are not, you know, sure or even interested right now about what are the SDGs and how that is connected directly to their lives, or more importantly to things like climate change and all of the natural disasters that they're undergoing. So I think you know, that more needs to be done, much more. And we need, even as an organization, SDSN, SDG Academy, even as this group, we need to start beginning to talk to the non-believers, the people who are actually don't know about the SDGs, are, you know, and don't even know that they don't know about the SDGs. So we need to bring these sort of webinars and discussions to those populations. And it's hard. It's lonely because often you're the only one. You rather talk to people who sort of understand what you're saying and who get it. And it's really hard to talk to, like here they're called, for me, non-believers. It's hard to talk to them. So there's much more work to be done at that higher ed level. And so in my small way, that's one of the things that I'm trying to do. We do have a master's in development practice program in, for example, in Florida, it's in Gainesville, University of Florida has one, but I'm trying to work with everyone and trying to see how we can spread it throughout the state. I'm also working with organizations that do model United Nations, and they're doing not just necessarily at the higher ed level, they're doing, K through 12 model UN programs and trying to sort of bring, incorporate, integrate these issues that we're talking about into those simulations. And, you would think that they're already doing it, but they are not, especially in states like Florida and the USA. And I'm sure that this is not just one example. There are many examples here in the USA and throughout the world. So that is the challenge, bringing what we do to, to non-believers, to people who don't know what they don't know. Thank you.
Thank you. I will turn it over to Hendrik to also answer that question, but there's also a couple more questions coming into the chat. So Hendrik, please feel free to
Right.
go ahead.
I'll just gonna be quick. I think here in the Harbor School, we are very lucky that we have a very supportive school management. And it is really important for us to share about our knowledges about the sustainable development goals, especially to the youth, because they're the ones who will be moving on forward. And as a first year program, we also, we from the team made us realize that we still have a lot of work to do, especially not just inside the school, but we also wanted to expand our model to other local schools here in Hong Kong and of course to the partners internationally. And together, I think if we educators are going to implement and integrate sustainability into our curriculum through different activities, maybe it be supplementary or directly in the lessons, I think it's really going to be a big help moving forward to the students.
Thank you so much for that answer. So we have quite a few questions. We still have about 15 minutes here for the questions. So we're going to try to get through as much as possible and really have a robust discussion. So I'll ask this question to Hendrik. So there's a question about how can we strengthen collaboration between schools so that students and teachers can share ideas and projects and activities across schools. And I think you were starting to touch on that. So if you have any ideas. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Actually, one of the really important realization we had when we joined the Global Schools Advocate, of course, first I would like to answer, to strengthen collaboration, the Global Schools program is actually a very good program for us to be able to collaborate with other schools, not just in the same region, but internationally. So number one, please take advantage of the different organizations who are already promoting this kind of cause. Number two, by collaborating with local schools in your area, you can actually launch programs that has the same kind of theme and introduce it to your students at the same time. We actually started, since we have a marine science program, our initiatives kind of started with a simple beach cleanup. And going from that, once you started creating your connections, you can further improve the different programs that you can go and implement.
Thank you so much for that answer. So there is a few questions about how to join the Advocates program and join the platform and join different trainings. So I have shared all of the links within the chat to globalschoolsprogram.org. And there is information there on how to join the school's network if you are a primary or secondary school leader. There also is information about our training course. And Lucia already shared information to the Global Classrooms Project, which is further training, and as well as she mentioned SDG Academy, which has a lot of training for teachers as well. And I will put that into the chat, the link. So the next question I'm going to send over to Radhika. There's a question on what kind of research currently exists on education for sustainability, and how is this being used to inform best practices?
Excellent question. I think what we see in the research is very contextualized, very nuanced research that is coming up. We don't see a lot of generic lesson learned that we can utilize. There are some theoretical frameworks that exist. There are a lot of teacher pedagogies that exist based on a lot of literature review on what works, like place-based learning, and we know starting early, we know how at the early age centers, or at ECDs, early childcare centers, there are a lot of research that exists on how environmental education can be integrated into the classrooms. So I think there are pedagogies that exist, and then there are specific contextualized research that exists. What is missing is the overall picture on how we can use these in different contexts, and how we can use these research that exist in our own context, and use it for schools, use it for different classrooms. I think that is still evolving, and that is the space where we can all bridge the gap by focusing on case studies, generalizing those lessons, focusing on our own practices and writing about it. So I think there is something, the global lessons, and hopefully that's where Mission 4.7 can come in to share those best practices, to share those generic lessons that we can learn from each other, collaborate with each other. But yes, I think there is some gap on utilizing those research and utilizing those practices still.
Thank you so much. So there's a lot of questions about raising awareness and getting people on board for this type of education, how to advocate. So I'm going to turn that over to Lucia to dive a little bit deeper, since you were talking about the lifelong learning perspective. So summarizing a lot of questions into one.
Yeah, your questions are coming to me as if I had the answer. The truth is I don't. And I'll tell you why, because I am, it's hard, it's difficult. It's difficult going into communities and areas that don't understand what you're talking about, but most importantly, don't want to. They're not open to your message. So what am I going to do? Because I am going to do something. I'm not going to sit with my hands crossed. So one of the first things that I've started to do is trying to find what you may hear out there called as my tribe here in this Florida area. So who are the organizations? Who are the people that are probably working on these issues on a very, very sort of low scale, and quietly they're working, because they are out there. There's a lot of environmental work being done without mentioning the word of SDGs, let alone the UN, none of that, but they're here. So I have to get into those and infiltrate them if that's what I need to do, but I will. That's one of the first things that I need to do. And then finding, once I have that, then I can start having a community, a group of people that I can start working with to, slowly but surely get, spread the word, spread our messages. And how, when I learn how, I'll let you know. But through education, to talking engagements like this, through maybe writing, there's lots of things that we will be able to do. I don't want to do it alone. We're used to working with people. So I want to work with people. And so for me, that will be the first priority. I mean, I would love, since this is an interactive sort of discussion, to learn maybe what you're doing, if you're doing anything in that in that space, is working with communities that don't believe, or who are the non-believers really, and don't understand and don't want to. So if you have some suggestions, I'm open to that, because we need it. We need to come together, and this could be the first space where we start to do that.
Thank you so much. There's another question that has actually a few questions that have touched on, there's a lot of youth in poverty, youth that are still lacking access to education. And at the same time, there are people that want to advocate for the SDGs in education, but they might not have the resources to do so. So I'll open it up to anyone who wants to answer, what is your advice for these people and for these communities?
Lucia, go ahead, please.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Radhika, please.
Just one line from my end. I think this is a reality that not everyone has equal access, and we really need to, as Lucia is saying, bring in these people together, bring all of us together in a platform where we can have these discussions. What I've noticed is that every community, rich or poor, has a rich social capital. I think they can learn from each other, and there is mothers, community members. There are all these people who are very talented people in the community. They could be carpenters, they could be, people in other professions. We can all learn from each other and use our social capital in whichever community we are living in to focus on local environmental issues. How we connect to the SDGs is requires some skill and requires some access, and hopefully we will be able to, through our networks and through various, because each one of us is connected to another person in another community, and maybe this is our time, as Lucia is saying, we start the movement here, we approach other people, share our resources, bring them into our conversations, and I think we have a task at hand which is achievable.
Yeah. I would like to add also that I heard in the question or comment that Amanda made, I don't have resources. So what can I do? Okay, I want to really address that. Right now, for me, it's not about the resources. You don't have to start big. Don't get overwhelmed with all this work that needs to be done. You can start really small, small right in your own, community. And if your community is too big, right in your own backyard, in your own house, with your friends, maybe your nearby schools that where you graduated from, that if you have some time, maybe volunteer an hour a week there that you can go for free. I know we all are looking for funding and all of that, but if we don't have that, let's start small, because you're planting a seed. And that's okay. That's okay. You're doing something. Don't think that because your efforts are so small, you're not doing enough. No, we need, if everybody did something, and we pull all of these efforts together, that's going to be a big thing. That's all.
Thank you so much. I know if Hendrik has comments on that, but also there's another question, a final question I want to direct to Hendrik, which he can draw on his school experiences. So it's about how can NGOs and schools in general source funds to advance SDG projects? So maybe you could talk a little bit about the partnerships that you've made within your context. Mm-hmm.
Great. Actually, we also have tried to source funds for our projects as well. So our number one source would be our international organizations. There is the government. There are also organizations such as multilateral development banks who are promoting different projects which are focused into SDG education. So it really takes a lot of research on finding the different source of funding on who will be the one providing it. So it's not that everything is available. For me, everything is available online. You can try looking for, number one, your your government first, your Department of Education. Here in Hong Kong, we had our government Department of Education has several programs where they are promoting education for sustainable development. So participating schools or organizations will have the opportunity to apply for funding by providing their programs and going through a rigid application process. And then with regards to other, actually, I honestly believe that sometimes funding is not always the answer. You also can maximize your network.
Thank you so much for that answer, and I hope it provides some context to the person that answered that question. So I would love to give all of you the opportunity for a final statement. I believe all of the links have been shared in the chat. There's the link to the Global Classroom and SDG Academy that Lucia shared, links to Mission 4.7. We also shared the global schools at unsdsn.org email if you would like to contact any of the speakers or get more information via email as well. Everyone is also invited to the Global Schools Symposium happening next Friday and Saturday on sustainability careers and hearing student presentations. And we would love to welcome anyone to that event. It's on our website, globalschoolsprogram.org. So as a final comment from Radhika, Lucia, and Hendrik, I would love to hear your final message to the policymakers at Stockholm Plus 50, taking it back to that, and also your final advice for the participants taking this notion and this advocacy tenet forward. So I'll start with you, Radhika.
I think it's time, thanks Amanda, I think it's time to write letters to your local senator, to your local municipal corporation of of the city, town, wherever you are, including your prime ministers and presidents and ministers of education. Tell them what you feel. I think this is what I will be doing here, because local action along with policy level work needs to go together, and we shouldn't let our policymakers fly with whatever they are doing. Let us question the status quo, let us raise our voices through various mechanisms, have many letters being sent through your own community members, start a campaign. Even if you have issues that you see around, it is not a small issue, as Lucia is saying, start small, but also include your ideas, share your ideas to your policy makers. And I think that will really go a long way. Don't underestimate your voice is my last message.
Thank you so much, Radhika. Lucia, we will turn it over to you.
Radhika, I love that last line. Don't underestimate your voice. That is key, I think, to this whole session this morning. Or even, and I would add to it, your actions, your voice and your actions. So I think, everything, the writing letters, getting the message out there, however you can do that, if it's through writing, if it's through, online, Facebook and your linking groups, and, just that message in every single communication you have with everybody, even if it's just one of those little taglines that you attach to your emails, something is better than nothing. Again, start small. Don't get overwhelmed with so much work that needs to be done. And in preparation for Stockholm Plus 50, many of you have it easier. You even know what it is. You wouldn't be here if you didn't know what it was. For me, it's harder because people just don't. And I'm here in the USA. Okay. So, my elementary steps will be just, again, like I said, finding my tribe here, getting the message out, however subtly I can do it. I've joined a lot of Facebook groups that deal with gardening, because that's one of the things that I am doing now here. And I'm really starting subtly to connect that activity to the SDGs. My tomatoes are dying. But, do you think this has anything to do with climate change? That's the only email that's making that, or that only message that's making that connection in any of these groups. Very subtly. And only those who are maybe, have an inkling about what I'm talking about will respond, but I'm doing something. And so, depends, but I guess the message I want to leave is don't get overwhelmed, start small, do what you can, and just, and don't lose hope, because I think that losing hope is the worst thing that we can all do. And so we have to do it with our little, as we say, little rice in the pot, one step at a time. And eventually all of this will come together.
Thank you, Lucia, for those wonderful final words of advice. And I will turn it over to Hendrik.
First of all, thank you so much, Amanda and the Global Schools team for organizing this associate event. It's really wonderful hearing the different thoughts and ideas from our colleagues. And to add on Lucia and Radhika's message, of course, never give up. Our program, it's not everything all at once. We had to do it step by step. We started our initiatives way early as 2017, and it evolved from community service to adding social responsibility and now sustainability. So I hope that through the survey results that we were able to share, that by adding and complementing sustainability initiatives to our students, you can see a lot of impacts and change in behavior to your students. So as educators, I want to encourage each and every one of you to start something, introduce the SDGs, introduce ESD to our kids, to our students. That will be a really big help. Our young generation will really appreciate it. Learning about sustainability and of course, learning about climate change will be something that they will be looking forward and bringing it in their future.
Thank you so much to all of our panelists for their time and for their words. And thank you to the audience members for joining our session and for asking such thoughtful and insightful questions. So on behalf of Global Schools, Mission 4.7, MVP, the Harvard School Hong Kong, SDG Academy, and everyone that was hosting today's events, we would like to wish you a wonderful time at the rest of Stockholm if you're attending other events or if you are there in person. And we really hope keep in touch with everyone. There is a newsletter on all of our websites to stay in contact. And I also will reshare the main email here and you can get connected to the other panelists as well. The second email is correct, globalschools@unsdsn.org. So thank you, everyone. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, afternoon, or evening, and we hope to connect with you soon. Bye, everyone.